All right, hello everyone, and welcome to Game 3 in this, I guess, 3-game set. I don't know, it should have been a best of 3, but I may have cast these games out of order for you guys. Obviously, I'm not going to try to do any anti-spoilers on this because Games 1 and Games 2 were already set up the way they were. And anyways, Phoenix spawning as the orange Terran player over here on the left-hand side of the map. And meanwhile, down over here, TT1, the green Protoss player, against MYM, who is opening up as the 2 Zerg. Both of them, TT1 now declaring his strategy, going 4-gate Marine only. So 4-gate Marine only, and that should be pretty interesting, and we'll see how that works. Phoenix going, okay, we'll see whether or not this works. The Marines are going to be there to try to get a lot of damage onto the Zerglings. Meanwhile, the Stalkers, Zealots, and Sentries are going to be there to try to absorb as much damage as possible, because they can't scout, so will be strong. I'm not sure if they can. 2 Zerg players on Shakura's Plateau should be able to scout rather easily. You can see that there's going to be an Overlord now set up there and an Overlord set up here. So Phoenix is saying yes, they can scout, and rather well. But we'll see if this strategy works any better. Overlords now positioning themselves down over here and up over here to make sure that there's not going to be any drop play. And now Paranoid and wow, Paranoid sitting at 12 over 26. That is actually a bit of a surprise, going into 3 Overlords. And that has to be a mistake. I can't imagine why you would want 3 Overlords this early in the game. He probably accidentally queued up an additional Overlord and decided not to cancel it, but he is going to be delayed for quite some time. Having that additional scout probably not going to help you out all too much, as opposed to trying to go for earlier drones. You got to remember that, and instead of training a drone, he trained an Overlord, so his economy will also be a little bit further behind. You can see 13 versus 14 drones there, 16 and 14. So that is going to be a definite slowdown, as we now see the probe just wandering around. He does see that there is a hatchery down over here as well, as Marines are being queued up as quickly as possible. Phoenix should be building up another Rax here in just a moment. No, actually going for a supply depot. That's a stranger front door opening or front door seal, as more units can actually sit in this ground over here. But he built it a little bit further back, and we'll see if there's anything comes of it there. TT1 currently getting that gateway up and running as well. 1 Marine looking around to see if it can perhaps shoot down an Overlord before it gets into the proper position on the map. Paranoid saying that he did too many drones. I don't know if that's actually the case, if he got too many drones there, but he let apparently everyone know in this matchup so far. So Paranoid not happy with his particular build either, but he's sitting on only 15 drones compared to 16 SCV, 22 probes, and 17 drones coming in from Mondragon. Back over here, the Marine is looking around, trying to see if an Overlord is going to try to suicide its way in. There is no gas being built, and Phoenix building these 3 Raxes over here straight next to the mineral line. It is going to be very difficult to scout out, so Phoenix is building a rather gutsy maneuver here, and now sticking to the game plan. Zerglings now trying to come in as well. The Zerglings going to 1+ Rax, and then I guess TT1 finally sees what where the rest of the Raxes were being built, and very, very impressed at his partner. A lot of Marines are going to be queued up in just a moment. Zerglings now trying to put pressure on the front door there. There are 2 Marines here, so it doesn't look like the Zerglings are going to be able to do all too much. But with the Baneling's Nest now coming in from Paranoid, the Baneling's Nest is going to deal a lot of damage, especially if there's not enough sentries yet. We can see 3 additional gateways being warped in along the backside, and that should help out. But with so many Marines being queued up, now running off of a 5 Rax build, a lot of Marines just being queued up constantly, and that is going to be prime target for all of these Banelings. So 10 Banelings currently being morphed into play. 8 Banelings enough to take down a supply depot, and those Banelings are simply going to just walk up that ramp, get a lot of damage, and without any Marauders, that is going to be a problem. So those Marines going to melt away. Down go those, as the Marines are now going to try to fight back. Perhaps one of those Marines should be already sacrificing themselves for the greater cause there, as now the Banelings are not trying to come in, but those Banelings out of position, they're just trying to walk in, and many of those Marines, Zerglings now trying to fight in as well, as the Banelings coming in from here. So the Banelings now morphing in along the, walking in along the north side, realizing that they cannot get that much damage. Zealots and Sentries down over here, and this is the problem. TT1 has no real way of supporting his partner. Marines are back over here. You can see the sheer amount of Marines that need to be trained up, and I'm not quite sure why all of these barracks are not being queued. This barrack should be lifted off, not being lifted off, and instead another supply depot going to be built here to try to finish off this wall-in location. You can see there's a small opening right here, another supply depot being built there, and it is going to be banelings galore here on Scorched Haven, as the orbital command now currently supply locked, unable to train up any additional units, and TT1 cannot engage, and this is just a real nightmare right now, as there are Zerglings down over here army-wise. You can see just how strong this army is. Zerglings dancing around back and forth, the Marines waiting for the Protoss army to arrive to lend some support, but unable to do so as the units are finally making their way out, and now all they need is one sentry here, but no, now Zergling's going to be running by Mondragon, and Mondragon gonna be able to deal a critical blow into TT1's base. So far, the Zergling's now back over here. Banelings just detonating all over the place and now getting into the mineral line as well, and Phoenix is in trouble. The barracks have been taken down a lot, or some of the barracks are going to start burning in just a moment. SCV is getting taken down here. Zerglings fighting back. Zealots fighting off against the swarm. The probes coming off the mineral line as well, as force fields finally coming into play. The sentries fighting off against a couple of those Zerglings, and now just trying to split up the rest of that army. But a lot of damage has been dealt by both sides. It looks like a couple of these sentries are going to finish off the last and the remaining of the Zergling run by. But the harvester count and the harvester damage has been dealt. 13 harvesters versus 4 and 15 versus 19 and 14. And that is especially off of the additional mineral patches. Mondragon now getting a lot of stationary defense over here on the front door. And this is going to be very difficult to break down. The Zerg can just simply start power droning into the game now, as the Marines are not going to have that much have the capability to be able to get that much damage. Phoenix now trying to move out. This is going to be an all-in attempt by Fnatic. They have a very large army, but this is going to be hurting them a lot if the sheer amount of stationary defense in. We have a lot of Zerglings now off to the north as well. The Zerglings should be able to perhaps do another run by straight into the bases, and the sentries and the stalkers, apparently this all-in is now trying to defend against the sheer number of Zerglings, and that is a problem. They have the superior forces at this stage. Sentries and SCVs, sentries, Marines, Stalkers, and Zealots now making the push out, but there are going to be a lot of Banelings on the front, and a lot of spine crawlers in as well. So more and more Banelings being morphed into play. Stalkers now going to try to push in. The sentries are going to be laying down a lot of force fields in this battle here, and in comes a queen. Spine crawlers now coming in. Banelings trying to walk in, and because they were on creep, able to get so much damage across so many Marines, and that is a problem. Zerglings now swarming in on both sides. SCVs and Zerglings now losing down over here, as well as the spine crawlers are just trying to fend off the attack as quickly as possible. Zerglings should be trying to engage at this time as opposed to falling back, but TT1 says GG, and there it is. So it really was a 2-1 victory. MYM taking game 2, but unfortunately my games were mislabeled for me. That does mean that Fnatic does take a 3-2 victory over MYM. Now, for your update in what is happening for the finals, unfortunately, In Control and some of the other games were never played, and because of the timeline for my tournament, there was nothing I can really do about it. And essentially what is going to happen is EG was unable to play their final game against Fnatic, and Fnatic in the end had one more victory over EG because of that misplayed game. Whoever had played that misgame, if EG had won that misplayed game, then they would have won. They would have been tied and then won the head-to-head matchup with the 3-2 victory. But Fnatic is going to be moving on into the finals and playing against Mouse Sports. So it is going to be Mouse Sports versus Fnatic. There are going to be some pretty interesting games there. Unfortunately, I know a lot of you guys want to see some more Idra games as well, and maybe perhaps Axlab redeeming himself from the first Machinima Realm Invitational. That won't be the case, as it is going to be a Mouse Sports versus a Fnatic. Mouse Sports winning an amazing 13-2 in the preliminary matches. Definitely deserves that first place spot. Fnatic in the second place spot, and we'll see what's going to be happening. I am looking forward to casting these games. I will wait until all 5 best of 3 series have been completed in order to start casting them. If you guys don't know how the tournament works out for the finals, essentially every game is every best of 3 series is a $250 show match. On top of that, the clan that wins wins the majority, whoever wins 3 victories first gets an additional $1,250. So that's how the prize pool breaks down. And so hopefully, that way we will see every single game in this matchup. Even the 2v2s, even if Mouse Sports or Fnatic goes 4-0 or 3-0 in the early portions, there are still reasons to play those final 2 best of 3 series, and those games should be interesting. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this 2v2 matchup between MYM and Fnatic. Congratulations to Fnatic for moving on into the finals. And I'm still hoping that I get more views on this tournament, and I hope I can continue to do this in the future. Let your friends know and to watch these games. And the more views I get, the more I can, more I can sponsor these tournaments and hopefully get some interesting games for you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.